Why super singles? Why do I want to buy and have super singles? Well, I think I've got 4 reasons why I think I'd prefer to have super singles on my truck. One of them is comfort. They're a little bit bigger, well, quite a bit bigger in size, so they have a bit of an extra ballooning effect, which I think reduces the harshness of the suspension that these trucks have. Like I said, they're workhorses, they weren't designed for comfort. 2, I think super singles, because they're bigger, tend to have a bigger diameter, the rolling circumference on mine in particular are slightly bigger, as I've shown you in the calculations on that website. So I think it has a couple of advantages. One is the fuel economy is going to be a little bit better. The engine revs are going to be reduced, therefore less stress on the engine. Overall, a good thing. The third thing, flotation. What is flotation? Flotation in the sense that if and when I go on sandy tracks or beaches or something like that, when you deflate the tire is going to have a much bigger surface area. Therefore, it's going to float over the sand more readily, and therefore there's going to be less rolling resistance for it to get stuck. Now, I'm going to get eaten alive about this. There are lots of theories about having fat tires over sand versus thinner tires with much higher walls. I'm not going to go into that right now because there's a million and one reasons for both sides, and the arguments will never end. So we'll just leave it at that. The fourth reason that I think that is really important when it comes to super singles compared to dualies on a truck like this one is the fact that their tracks are going to match. In other words, the front track of the front wheels is going to be in line with the rear track of the rear wheels. Whereas when you are running with dualies, especially this particular truck, that does not happen, and it causes a number of issues. There is another reason, and I guess this is the fifth one, of why I've decided to go with super singles, and that is, it's a rare thing. It does happen though, but it's worth considering. Dualies can pick up objects like rocks and get jammed between the 2 dual tires at the back. If this happens and you're not aware of it, and you continue to drive with a rock embedded between the 2 tires, eventually you're going to lose definitely one tire, and more than likely you'll end up losing both tires. Now, losing both tires on dualies is not a good thing, obviously. There are disadvantages obviously with super singles, because if that did happen to a super single, in other words, if you lost a super single, not because of a rock, but because it had a puncture or whatever, then you have the same issue. You've got that whole corner of your truck down. But anyway, that's a minor disadvantage, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to draw what that looks like. Hopefully that'll make sense to a lot of people. I think a lot of Australians will understand this anyway, or anybody that's familiar with off-roading. This is probably quite common knowledge, but for those of you out there who have no idea what I'm talking about, this might be something worth noting, especially if you're going to go overlanding. Anyway. And your axle, because it's 4-wheel drive, and that's the center line, I guess. And you have the rear axle, and you have your dualies, the gap in between, something like that. So if you can see from this, the outer part of the front wheel does not line up with the outer part of the rear wheel. Use different colours. So that bit there is there. This front wheel, front, rear, actually goes down this center line and basically is in the center of the two back dewlings. So if you were going to pretend you're driving through sand, these two are going to create, I'm going to draw it on the side here, they're going to create a rut like that and a rut in the middle with two mounds either side, like so. Those mounds are going to follow through all the way, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to end up being in line with the rear jewels. And what that means is then the truck then has to force that mound out the way that was created by the front wheels to keep moving forward. And that creates an even bigger rut because you've got the two rear wheels. So that's one of the disadvantages of dualies. When you have super singles and the offsets are correct, the front ones actually are put on. I'm going to use another color if I can find some. When they put on, the actual dualies at the front come out a little bit more, like so. That's the same color as the other one. And the rear ones flipped over and they come out like this. So what ends up happening is the two wheels are actually in line. So if I do a dotted version, so this is the right hand side, that was the original wheel, center line, original dualies, when you buy a super single with the correct offset, these actually come out a little bit further and they actually are about the same on the inside, like so, and the rears are flipped around. But the same wheel, the same offset, the wheels are flipped around, so the dish of the wheel is like so, and the dish of the front wheel is like so, and they get bolted through here. But now these two line up, and when the truck makes a rut and two mounds, they match, so the rear one can follow the front one. And that causes less resistance, less strain on the truck, and an overall more efficient way of going through sand. I hope that makes it a little bit clearer. Not sure if it has, but yeah. Let me know what you think. Comparing like for like, and then I'm going to hit calculate. When you do that, it gives you results for each tire. So this is the old tire, the 9.00 by 20 inch wheel. It's telling you its profile is 100 millimeters, so it's 100% of the thickness of the tire, which happens to be 230 millimeters, of a radius of a diameter of 20 inches. The results for mine, for the new tires, the super singles, is 395, substantially bigger than that, by 65, so a much lower profile at 22 inches. And the rolling radius that it's given me is the same as before, but this is the interesting part here. This is the bit that's really interesting. So here the rolling radius has changed by 50 millimeters, so it's actually a little bit bigger, so that's 100 millimeters altogether, and the circumference has gone up by 327 millimeters as well. So that's basically double this one, and the extra distance I gain from those tires. And because you'd gained that extra 300 and whatever millimeters, you're actually rotating the tires less for a certain speed. So this is also really handy. It even tells you that at 100 kilometers an hour, which is our legal speed limit for trucks in Australia, you're actually running at 109.73 kilometers per hour. So I've got to be careful that I don't go over that speed limit. But as you can see, that's quite significant. Now, I'm taking this actual calculation with a pinch of salt because my actual tire is 385 and it's a 22.5-inch wheel. So I don't know, it's going to be a slight difference, and I think the difference will be slightly less, but it's minuscule. But I guess that I'll be running around that sort of speed or slightly less, probably a bit less than that. So obviously when I hit 100 k's an hour on my speedo, I'll technically be doing around that sort of speed, 109. So I've got to be aware of that. But the beauty of that is that I can then back off from 100 on my actual speedo and probably run around 95 k's an hour, which will be well within the 100 kilometer an hour speed limit. But also the best thing about that, and the most important thing is, apart from the ride quality, is the fact that my engine will be doing less revs, and less revs means less wear and tear, and it also means less engine noise, less vibration, less fuel consumption generally, and an overall really good thing to do. So I'm quite happy with that. Anyway, I thought that would be interesting. You might want to use this yourselves at some point to do some calculations of your own. But anyway, there you go. Well, I hope that wasn't too dry, that last bit of the video with the tire calculator. This is Monty, by the way, if you can see him. It was meant to be informative. I'm trying to stop him from knocking over the camera. And next week I'm going to show you how I actually changed these tires behind me to the 4 super singles. And that was quite a mission when you're on your own. Trust me, those wheel nuts are quite tight and they take some braking to take them off and unscrew them. Anyway, till next time.